and I'm perfectly happy with it. But that extra battery life in the newer model sounded pretty attractive.
Okay, I'm going to continue here.
I wish they could put that on the old ones without the new chips, I guess.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it sounds like it needs that new S9 chip though to work that way. Okay, you can all see that, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's just the kind of summary for the Apple Watch. Fast charging, carbon neutral. They talked a lot about Apple trying to, by 2030, being totally neutral in use of energy and carbon and all that such. Crash detection, which they've had before. The double tap gesture sounds very interesting.
So they actually claim that the Series 9 is Apple's first carbon neutral product. Sounds like an interesting trivia.
Currently, yes, you're right.
Ooh, make notes.
Yeah.
Well, it's an important thing for a big company to be working toward, I think. Here's the prices. They still have the Watch SE. You see $249 and $299. The Series 9 will be $399 and $499, which I don't think is much of a change from what the previous series was.
Yeah.
Ultra is the most advanced Apple Watch, and it's perfect for anyone who wants the biggest display and long.
By the way, I need to mention this is our screen recording, and it came out to be a couple gigabytes, even these little small pieces of it. So I had to reduce the resolution of it down to 240 or 480, I'm sorry. So you'll notice that when we get writing on the screen, it's oftentimes very fuzzy. It's not from the original video. It's just my recording of it.
My
battery life with a
Question, Glenn, is there anything there that would make you want to move on to a 2?
Well, I don't think so, but part of that is because I'm going to be getting a new iPhone, this year. Again, I don't think specifically the Ultra 2 for what they're coming out with it, but it's more, again, the double tap that is the same with the 9. I like that, again, there's sort of precision finding of the phone. And I'm trying to remember, there was one other thing I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I don't think it's enough that I would be upgrading from where I'm at now.
Okay, it has to be the Ultra Watch 3 next year, maybe. Okay. There's the summary page. You see all the things that they talked about. The price on the 2 is $799 for the GPS plus cellular. I think there are other probably higher price ranges, but that's what it starts at. Okay, it moved on real quickly. This is all on iPhone now, the rest of the presentation. Sorry, I don't know why she decided to stop talking, but she did. Oh, I'm sorry.
iPhone 15 has ceramic
that was
shield.
the end of it. Okay. Here's the summary of the things mostly that she was talking about. They all go in USB-C on all these products. Even the new AirPods will be that way. AirPod charging device, at least.
Ron, I'll be curious to see what it feels like with the talking about the texture of the matte finish. I always want to protect my iPhones and I always put them in some kind of case, but part of it also is I've never felt comfortable holding the iPhones because they're just too slippery for me. I always feel like it's hard to hold. And so I'm curious if it's got a more of a texture to it, it won't be a little more grippy.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be, but again, you'll have to try one and see. go to the Apple store, I guess, when they come up.
Yeah, it says
Obviously, a lot of people buy a new phone because of the improvement in the camera. So if you have an older phone, this would be something you might want to consider. 48 megapixels, extremely high resolution.
Ron, I was pretty impressed with some of the new camera features, especially like the automatic portrait mode and some of their focusing stuff. I thought was very interesting.
Right, and this is just on the iPhone 15. If you go to the Pro or Pro Max, there's even more that it'll do.
yeah.
Prices, $799 for the 15, the 15 Plus, $899, at least starting prices.
The features on the Plus are exactly the same. It's just the bigger size, right?
Yes.
Not the Pro Max.
No,
No, we're not there yet.
oh, I'm talking about Pro. I'm talking.
Good enough.
So USB 3, 10 gigabits throughput with this optional cable, not a bad deal.
Well, the standard cable goes same with USB 2 speeds, I think.
Right.
Yeah, the standard ones use the USB 2 and the Pros use the USB 3.
And 10 gigabits is what? That indicative of one of those?
I don't know. In the actual keynote, they talked about how much you could download it or upload at one time, but I don't remember those details anymore.
Well, they talked about if you were taking a movie that they could put a external hard drive on it and take the film directly to the external thing through the USB 3
Right, in
port
real time. So
in real time, and so that's a lot of shit going on at one time.
yep.
Well, I mean, the standard photo is this, and then a movie flowing is a lot more.
Question about that titanium. When do you think they'll actually make a phone that's tough enough that you can drop it on the sidewalk, not in a case, pick it up, and not even be able to find the scratch on it?
You'd be lucky. The thing is, it is glass in most cases. So the titanium is only the corners. So
And
Okay, dream.
yeah.
Well, think about it. It's like saying when they're going to invent a car that I can run into a tree and it won't dent it. That's just not going to happen. At least not in this lifetime.
I think some people are also fooled by titanium. And I know I've seen a lot of discussions just with the Apple Watch Ultra that people are surprised that it'll get scratches on it. And it's like titanium can scratch. For some reason, people think that it can't. I know there's this misconception out there about it.
Maybe it's something to do with that unobtainium or something they had in that movie in Africa, whatever it was.
Well, remember a few years back when one of the new iPhones came out and people were complaining that it bent in their pocket?
Yeah.
And one of the things, titanium wouldn't do that.
Well,
Unless you actually put it in a press of some sort, I would think.
the thing is, they were trying to make it thinner, and that was the objective, and it just didn't work,
Yeah,
Ron, do we have anything on the price of the iPhone Pros?
there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, thank you.
Ask and ye shall receive. No, the 15 Pro is $999. That's starting at 128 gigabytes, and the Pro Max at $1199. And I think that's my last.
Not much more than it was before.
No,
A little bump on the
the
Pro
same.
Max, but I think a couple things there on the Pro models. I was looking at one thing on the slide. Now I forgot what one of the things was I was looking at. Yeah, as I said, I've got an 11 Pro Max and I'm going to be doing it with the 15 Pro Max. And right now I'm leaning toward either the blue color or the natural titanium color, one of those two. The action button. That was the other thing.
Oh,
I
yeah.
find it interesting. I love the action button on my Apple Watch Ultra, but I don't know. I'm not sure I can imagine switching it from just turning the, the sound to silence or on my phone, because that seems like might be the one thing I always want to be able to just click real quick and be able to do.
But if you can just cover it with your hand, you silence your watch that way, but
Yeah, but if it's,
on the phone, no.
Yeah, so whereas I found the button on the Apple Watch Ultra very useful, like mine, because I coach runners, I made mine into stopwatch start and stop so I could feel it rather than having to look at the screen, and I could look at my runners. But on my phone, I mean, I could see where it'd be useful just to click that and take a picture real quick and not have to bring your camera up. But I think that I would just want to keep it on silence or sound, one or the other. I can't imagine changing that.
Depends
I
on
get
how
what you're
hard it is
saying.
to go change your modes,
Yeah, it depends on how many steps it takes to change from one action to another.
right?
Well, the
Maybe
other
they
thing
did that because how often do you turn it to silent? I've done mine very, very seldomly, so maybe that's what they're thinking about.
Well, one of the things that I do now on my 11 is I've got the tap on the back where I tap the back of my phone, and that turns it from silent to sound or back and forth, which I do occasionally. So, I presume I'll still have that ability. And if I do, then maybe I can use the action button for something else.
Yeah, that's possible. Well, guys, that's it for tonight, unless you have any last question or comment.
One quick observation, price-wise on the iPhone Pros. The iPhone Pro, not the Pro Max, notice that the storage starts at 128 gigs.
Yeah.
And with that 48 megapixel camera, that storage is going to fill up awfully fast. So as I see it, what you'd want to have would be a minimum of 256. And then that gets that bumps that model up, I believe, by $100, and that gets it to within $100 of the starting price of the iPhone Pro Max.
John, to speak further to that, the Pro Max, which starts at $11.99, comes with 256. And I was looking at my phone because that's what I have now in my 11, and I'm using about half that space. And part of me is thinking, oh, well, I could just do the standard 256 since I'm only using half that. But as you said, I worry about that 48 megapixel camera. But if you want to bump up to the 512, you're adding another $200 to the price of the Pro Max.
Yeah. I'm making the assumption that for me, 256 gigs would be enough. I could offload photos or put them in iCloud or something. But that said, when you take the iPhone 15 Pro and bump the storage up to 256, you're now within $100 of the iPhone Pro Max.
Yeah.
So the question becomes then, do you want to seriously consider, spending the extra $100 and getting it, and then you're getting the better camera, the 5X optical and so forth.
Well,
So,
we didn't have it in the video, but the Pro Max also has the periscope.
Yeah.
If we compare the Pro to the Pro Max, how are they different from each other than one is larger in physical sense?
The camera.
Well, the camera is the big one with the periscope lens that we just mentioned.
Yeah, largely.
But the regular Pro doesn't have that, just the Pro Max?
It does
Correct.
not. The regular Pro,
Max.
the optical zoom on the Pro and the regular Pro maxes out at 3X. On the iPhone Pro, on the Pro Max, it is 5X.
Well, keep in mind too, this only came out today, so in the next few days, there's going to be all sorts of videos out there on YouTube and so on that'll give lots of details because people will actually be using the things.
Well, they won't have them to use yet, but they'll be speculating.
Well, there's already been some hands-on things. Before they come to the public, they'll be tested by people that'll do articles and videos on them.
Right.
Jason Snell already has one on Macworld.
Yeah.
And I think I don't remember the exact details, but they're going to be available within the next 2 weeks.
They can be ordered Friday, this Friday, and they will be available, I believe, the 22nd, was it?
Right, so that's pretty soon.
Yeah.
I have a question about HDR photos in general. I've noticed that when you take them out of a phone and you put them on a Mac, you got an HDR and a non-HDR photo. It's hard to tell them apart, but on the phone, the difference is more different. Is that just because the Mac can't display it right? Or are we losing something in the photo by taking it out of the phone and putting it in a Mac?
I think you're looking at it on a bigger screen, and I think that makes a difference as well, possibly. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I'd have to.
Yeah, I
look that
don't know either. It's HDR just means high dynamic range, but what exactly that refers to, I don't have a clue.
Is the HDR information actually in the JPEG file, or is it stored somehow else in the phone?
It's elsewhere.
Yeah, again, no idea. Guys, it's after 9, so I'm gonna have to say goodbye. Thanks
All
for
right.
coming this evening. I
See you
hope
guys
you
next
found
month.
some of the information useful.
Very much so.
Sorry for my mess up at the beginning.
Oh, no problem, Ron. Good job. Thanks.
It's Zoom. What are you gonna do?
Well, I realize now, when you click on Zoom, there's actually a little button that says something about the sound, make the sound work. And I forgot about that stupid button. So once I clicked on that, it all worked. So now I have to try to remember that when I use Keynote again. Okay, thanks, guys.
Night, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Next month.